Welcome to Incite Innovation, an IE podcast that empowers innovation leaders and inspires teams to think boldly, act strategically, and spark transformation. I'm Anna.
And I'm Isaac. Today, we're diving into a crucial topic for any aspiring innovator, broken down by our experts at Innovation Edge. How beginner analysts can leverage syndicated research to not just spot trends, but actively drive product innovation and forge impactful partnerships.
It's all about understanding the market and making smart, data-driven decisions. Let's get started.
To kick us off, Anna, let's define what syndicated industry research actually is. In simple terms, it's market data and consumer insights gathered by specialized firms like Nielsen, Circana, formerly IRI, or Kantar, and then sold widely to various companies. These sources track everything from product sales, channel volume, and market share to consumer behaviors across different industries. It really gives analysts a big picture view of the market.
That makes sense. So with this big picture or bird's eye view of the market, how does syndicated research become so crucial for identifying trends and spotting new opportunities for product development, especially for someone just starting out?
That's a fantastic question, Anna. Once we understand what syndicated research is, the next logical step is knowing where to find it. For any analyst, especially a beginner, it's about building your research toolkit. There are several common sources to tap into. First, we have market measurement services like Nielsen IQ and Circana. These provide detailed retail sales tracking, showing which product types are growing or declining. For instance, Nielsen's data might reveal a surge in sparkling water sales, signaling a shift towards healthier beverages. Then there are consumer panels and surveys, managed by firms such as Nielsen and Kantar. These reveal who the consumers are and, more importantly, why they make purchasing decisions. A survey finding that 71% of Americans have tried plant-based meat alternatives, for example, is a huge signal that something is moving mainstream. A great source can be the industry trend reports, produced by syndicated sources or trade organizations. These are invaluable for highlighting emerging themes. Think about how Kantar and Mintel reports during 2020 to 2021 discussed trends like immunity-boosting foods or indulgence at home as people adapted to the pandemic. Lastly, there are sales rankings and top products lists, like Circana's Pacesetters report, which showcase what innovations succeeded and often explain why, giving us a clear view of consumer preferences.
That's a comprehensive list of sources, Isaac. But for someone new to this, it might feel a bit overwhelming. How can a beginner analyst effectively navigate all these different sources? What's the best way to gather those initial crucial clues without getting lost in the sheer volume of data?
It's a valid concern. The advice from our Innovation Edge expert team is to start by leveraging your company's existing subscriptions or any publicly available resources. Many research firms offer free high-level findings on their websites or through news outlets. As a beginner, focus on the executive summaries, key statistics, and trend descriptions.
To our listeners, don't feel pressured to dive deep into every single data point right away. The goal is to create your own personal log, a folder, or even a simple spreadsheet to track interesting data points. Something like 2021, 63% of consumers seek immune health ingredients in foods, or third quarter of 2020, frozen meal sales up 25% according to Circana. These snippets are your initial clues, the pieces you'll start connecting in the next phase of analysis.
You've hit on the core challenge, Anna. Collecting the data is only half the job. The real value comes from analysis, and it's essential to have a structured approach, especially for a beginner analyst. The first step is to identify patterns and trends. Once you've gathered your data from various sources, you need to look for recurring themes. For instance, in 2020 and 2021, you might have seen multiple reports highlighting health and wellness, plant-based diets, or convenience as major rising trends. When possible, try to quantify these trends, like plant-based food sales up X%, or Y% of consumers buying snack bars for meal replacement. After identifying what is happening, the next crucial step is to ask why, to understand the underlying drivers. This is where qualitative insights from reports become invaluable. If, say, Nielsen data showed a spike in baking mix sales during 2020, reports might attribute that to pandemic stay-at-home behaviors. Understanding the why helps predict if a trend has staying power or is just a fleeting moment. For example, Circana noted that even as consumers shifted between staying home and going out in 2021, the interest in convenient and new, fun products remained consistently high. This told us people wanted both comfort and novelty, suggesting products that could deliver both would likely succeed.
That makes a lot of sense. So once you've identified these patterns and understood the drivers, how do these steps specifically help in tailoring product ideas and effectively prioritizing opportunities? It sounds like it could still be a broad set of insights.
That's where the next two steps come in. You segment the insights by breaking down trends based on industry or consumer demographics. Not every trend applies universally. For example, while sustainability might be a general trend, it could mean demand for eco-friendly packaging in consumer packaged goods. But in air travel, it might translate to interest in lower waste meal options. Segmentation by demographics like Gen Z versus boomers, or by occasion, such as on-the-go snacks versus sit-down meals, helps you tailor product ideas much more precisely for specific markets. Finally, you benchmark and prioritize. This means looking at what competitors or even adjacent industries are doing based on your research. If every major fast food chain is testing meatless options and the sales data for those is strong, then that trend becomes a high priority for action. By late 2021, it was evident that nearly every big restaurant chain was exploring plant-based alternatives, often through partnerships. An analyst seeing this would immediately flag plant-based offerings as a must-consider area for any food company's innovation pipeline, ensuring the most impactful opportunities are pursued first. Now let's bring these analytical steps to life with some real-world examples. Starting with the packaged food and beverage sector. Looking back at 2020 and 2021, a major trend emerged, what we called elevated at-home consumption. With lockdowns, people were spending more time at home and looking for both comfort and novelty in their grocery purchases. Syndicated data clearly showed spikes in categories like sparkling waters, cocktails in a can, and indulgent snacks as people tried to recreate fun experiences at home. At the same time, health-conscious choices like plant-based milks and low/no sugar beverages also grew, reflecting an ongoing focus on wellness. Analysts realized consumers wanted treats that balanced enjoyment with some wellness or nostalgia. Another significant insight from that period came from the power of viral food trends, often driven by social media. Think of how a simple homemade vodka pasta sauce recipe went absolutely viral on TikTok after a celebrity shared it. An analyst would see this craze and immediately wonder, could a brand commercialize this?
That's fascinating, Isaac. So, how did a company like Heinz take an insight from a viral trend like the vodka pasta sauce and turn it into a physical product? The Heinz X Absolute Vodka Pasta Sauce sounds like such a unique, yet completely logical outcome when you explain the viral trend connection. How did that trend-to-product path unfold?
That's an excellent question, Anna. Back in 2023, we saw companies really acting on these insights. The Heinz X Absolute Vodka Pasta Sauce, launched in the UK, is a perfect example. It was a direct response to that viral vodka sauce trend. Kraft Heinz partnered with Absolute, the vodka brand, not just for the novelty, but to lend authenticity to the idea. Their goal was to innovate at the speed of social media trends, essentially bottling a fad before it lost momentum. The collaboration was brilliant. Heinz knows sauces, Absolute knows vodka. Together, they capitalized on a flavor young consumers were already making at home. Early reports showed it was a success, capturing increased pasta sauce market share. This demonstrated how syndicated trend data, which highlighted the rise in home cooking and social media-driven crazes, pointed to a clear opportunity, and a smart partnership quickly brought a product to market. And it wasn't just Heinz. Many packaged food innovations in 2023 to 24 stemmed from those 2020 to 2021 insights. The explosive growth of hard seltzers and canned cocktails, extensively tracked by Nielsen and Circana, led major beverage companies to launch new entrants. For example, Coca-Cola partnered with Molson Coors in 2020-21 to launch Topo Chico Hard Seltzer, blending a popular mineral water brand with Molson's distribution expertise. Similarly, the plant-based eating trend fueled new grocery products like plant-based frozen meals, dairy-free ice creams, and meatless snacks. Even indulgent brands paid attention. When Circana data showed Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda became the #1 new beverage of 2021, it underscored consumer preference for familiar flavors with a twist. This encouraged other brands to explore nostalgic mashups, For beginner analysts, the key takeaway is to observe where consumer preference curves are heading. Is a niche behavior becoming mainstream? Is a specific occasion, like drink at home but better, gaining prominence? Partnerships can create a win-win, timely product that leverages each brand's expertise.
Shifting gears a bit, let's look at how other industries, particularly airlines and fast food, applied similar strategies. The airline industry was significantly impacted by the pandemic, and by 2021, research clearly showed that customer expectations for in-flight service had evolved. Travelers were more anxious about cleanliness, more budget-conscious, but also really craving better experiences. A key insight was that 72% of travelers expected healthier, fresher meal options on board. The old airline food is terrible stereotype was simply no longer acceptable. What
Airlines
happened
and their
next?
catering partners flagged these trends. Passengers were more health-conscious and vocal about their flight experiences. The challenge was how to improve menus cost-effectively and quickly. And just like in packaged foods, partnerships emerged as a smart solution. Instead of developing new cuisine in-house, they looked to well-known food brands or chefs that already resonated with consumers. This allowed airlines to instantly offer recognizable quality or trendy options that aligned with these new research insights.
That's really insightful. So, what were some of the tangible outcomes? How did airlines leverage these insights and partnerships to meet those shifting consumer demands for better in-flight food? Can you give us an example?
Certainly. A prime example is Delta Airlines. By late 2024, they announced a partnership with Shake Shack to bring the burger chain's signature cheeseburger to the skies on select flights. This directly reflected the insight that passengers wanted comforting yet high-quality food, and Delta's internal data showed burgers were already a top-ordered item. Rather than just any burger, they elevated the offering with a beloved brand. The outcome was a co-branded meal that improved Delta's brand image for in-flight dining, showing how syndicated research, combined with social listening, revealed a deep consumer need for familiar comfort but with better quality. And it wasn't just Delta. JetBlue Airways, for instance, partnered with Dig Inn, a farm-to-table fast casual chain, as early as 2021 to provide fresh, seasonal meals on transatlantic routes. This directly addressed the demand for healthier, salad/grain bowl-style options from a known healthy brand, showing how even a smaller airline used consumer insight to upgrade its menu without starting from scratch.
It's interesting how both airlines gravitated towards partnerships to quickly fill a gap identified by research. Now, moving to fast food, a sector known for its rapid changes, how did these insights manifest there? I can imagine plant-based trends and viral food crazes would also play a huge role.
You're spot on, Anna. The quick service restaurant, or QSR, sector is incredibly dynamic. Between 2020 and 2022, analysts observed several shifts. Younger customers seeking variety and novelty, the limited-time offer craze, a surge in plant-based alternatives, and a big nostalgia meets pop culture wave driven by familiar brands or celebrities. Syndicated sales data showed plant-based meat substitutes not only sold well in retail, but also boosted foot traffic in fast food settings. Social media metrics further indicated that co-branded or unexpected food mashups often went viral, translating into real sales. Armed with these insights, fast food chains aggressively pursued partnerships to create buzzworthy products. Two major categories emerged: collaborations with plant-based food tech companies to address the meat-free trend, and partnerships with other brands or celebrities to tap into cultural moments and cross audiences.
So KFC's Beyond Fried Chicken would be a perfect example of the first category then. And what about the mashup trend?
Exactly. KFC's Beyond Fried Chicken is a textbook example. Noticing the rise of flexitarian eating, KFC started testing a plant-based nugget with Beyond Meat in 2019. It sold out in hours, demonstrating massive demand. Further trials in 2020 again sold out quickly, with industry data showing alternative protein was a high-stakes battleground, and competitors like Burger King launching the Impossible Whopper, KFC, greenlit a nationwide rollout in January 2022. It gave KFC innovation credibility and Beyond Meat a massive platform. For mashups, research indicated younger consumers loved experiential, Instagrammable food, and familiar brand crossovers. A classic, though a bit earlier example, is Taco Bell's Doritos Locos Tacos from 2012, which became a bestseller. The lesson, reflected in 2020's trends, is that co-branding attracts both fan bases and generates free publicity. More recently, McDonald's partnered with Krispy Kreme, recognizing morning customers' craving for a sweet treat with coffee and Krispy Kreme's strong brand appeal. McDonald's tested selling their donuts in late 2022, and by 2024, announced an expansion to thousands of locations by 2026. This was a direct response to consumer demand, filling a product gap and driving breakfast traffic.
That's a lot of great examples, Isaac. It really highlights how these insights drive tangible product development and successful partnerships. To bring it all home for our beginner analysts, can we walk through a real-world scenario step by step using Nielsen IQ data? What's a classic example of spotting an emerging trend with this kind of research? And what type of analysis would be relevant?
Absolutely, Anna. Let's look at the hard seltzer boom, which is a perfect case study. Imagine you're a category manager around 2017-2018. You're seeing beer dollar sales stagnate, but suddenly, some subsegments are showing incredible gains. Hard seltzer was the standout. Your job, as an analyst, is to prove this growth is real, sustainable, and significant enough to warrant investment. So the first step is pulling the right data fields from Nielsen IQ's weekly export. You'd look at dollar sales, which shows the absolute size and year-over-year growth. For hard seltzer in 2018, that was nearly $488 million, growing 169% year-over-year. Then, unit/volume sales confirms that growth isn't just price-driven. Hard seltzer saw an astounding 181% volume increase in that same period. You'd also look at percent ACV distribution, which tells you if retailers are giving the product more shelf space. Hard seltzer jumped from about 10% to over 25% ACV in many chains between Q1 and Q4 2018. Another critical metric is dollar velocity per TDP, or total distribution point. TDP is essentially a measure of how widely and how many facings/variants each item has on a shelf. Dollar velocity per TDP indicates consumer pull at the shelf, how much sales you get per unit of distribution. Hard seltzer was doing over 1.7 times the beer category average in 2018. Finally, segment share percent is key. Crossing the 1% share line often signals a tipping point. Hard seltzer hit 1% of total beer and flavored malt beverage dollars in 2018, and brand count, item count, shows new entrants, which acts as competitive validation. It went from just 10 brands in January 2018 to 26 by January 2019, and then a whopping 65 by mid-2020. This collective data helps build a compelling story.
That's quite a detailed breakdown of the data points. So, when you're looking at all this information, what are the specific signals or combination of signals that tell an analyst a trend is truly high potential and worth turning into a billion-dollar platform, not just a fleeting fad?
That's the crux of it, Anna. You're looking for what we call an actionable trend. For hard seltzer, several criteria lit up. First, sustained triple-digit growth. This wasn't a one-off seasonal blip. It was nearly 500% growth between 2018 and 2019. Second, positive unit growth and price premium. Consumers were not only buying more, but they were willing to pay a higher average price than for light beer, indicating real value and demand. Third, the distribution curve was still low, less than 30% ACV in mid-2018, meaning there was plenty of runway for expansion. This is crucial because a true early trend often shows high velocity even when ACV is still low, signaling unmet demand. And fourth, cultural buzz and social proof. Hard seltzer had viral social media engagement and 65 brands jostling by 2020, confirming consumer pull beyond just early adopters. Finally, looking at analogous sub-segment success, like kombucha's growth, showed that functional health drinks could scale. When all these boxes light up, the Nielsen IQ data effectively de-risks a bold innovation recommendation. This whole process, from the initial flag in late 2017 to Coca-Cola partnering with Molson Coors to launch Topo Chico Hard Seltzer by September 2020, and then its national launch in early 2021, demonstrates how data-savvy analysts turned a blip into a billion-dollar product platform within 3 years.
We've covered a lot. Let's bring all these threads together for our beginner analysts. The core methodology for driving innovation with syndicated research boils down into a few key practices.
First, stay curious and updated. Continuously engaging with industry reports, webinars, and data dashboards keeps you attuned to what consumers are doing and feeling. For instance, if you saw e-commerce grocery booming in 2021 and people wanting restaurant-quality meals at home, that's a direct signal for new product opportunities like gourmet frozen meals. Second, use structured analysis. Don't just get lost in the data. Approach it with clear questions. What's growing? What's declining? What consumer need isn't being met? Where are competitors investing? Write down your insights simply, like X is up Y%, this points to demand for Z. This clarity makes your findings easy to communicate. Third, make insight-backed recommendations. When you're pitching ideas to product development teams or leadership, always connect your suggestions directly back to the data. For example, we saw a 30% increase in cold brew coffee sales, and 40% of Gen Z prefer it. I recommend we partner with a popular local coffee brand to launch a ready-to-drink line. Citing your research builds immense credibility. Fourth, visualize and illustrate. Use charts, graphs, or photos of trend-forward products to make your point more compelling. Showing a graph of plant-based food sales alongside a picture of KFC's Beyond Chicken Bucket, for instance, visually reinforces your message. And finally, learn from case studies like the ones we discussed. They don't just validate that insight-driven innovation works, they provide a blueprint. You can recall how the human food industry did partnerships and think, could a pet food brand partner with a trendy human food brand for a new premium treat? That kind of cross-pollination often sparks breakthrough innovation.
That's a fantastic summary, Isaac. It really distills a complex process into actionable steps. For someone in an innovation leadership role, or even a beginner analyst wanting to make a significant impact, how do these practical steps specifically empower them or their team to drive breakthrough innovation and ensure their suggestions are not just heard, but acted upon?
Well, Anna, these steps empower them by turning observations into strategic narratives. By staying curious, they spot the tremors before they become quakes. Structured analysis helps them move beyond just numbers to understand the why behind trends, giving them a deeper, more predictive understanding. When they make insight-backed recommendations, they're not just throwing out ideas, they're presenting solutions validated by hard data. This increases the likelihood that their suggestions are seen as de-risked opportunities, not just guesses. The ability to visualize and illustrate makes these complex data stories accessible and compelling, capturing leadership's attention. And by leveraging case studies, they demonstrate a pattern of success, showing that similar strategies have worked before, reducing internal resistance to new ideas. It collectively builds a strong foundation for credible, impactful innovation.
That's a great way to put it, Isaac. Turning observations into strategic narratives. It makes so much sense how these practices build a strong case for innovation.
Exactly. It's about empowering analysts to be strategic partners, not just data pullers. When you can connect the dots from consumer behavior to market opportunity, and then show a clear path to a winning product, that's when you truly drive value.
This has been incredibly insightful. So to our listeners, remember, syndicated research is your compass for product development. By understanding how to collect, analyze, and translate this data into actionable insights, you can significantly contribute to your organization's innovation pipeline. And the Innovation Edge team is here to help. Our team of experts have years of experience across industries laddering insights and crafting new growth opportunities. Be bold and reach out to our team at ie@innovationedge.com for guidance on how to maximize your insights.
Go out there, explore the data, and start identifying those unmet demands and partnership opportunities. We hope this episode has given you the confidence and the tools to begin applying these principles. As you start, if you have questions, reach out to the Innovation Edge team, and our experts can help guide you to your intended destination.
Thank you, Isaac, the Innovation Edge team, and to our listeners for joining us on Insight Innovation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast for future episodes on the latest insights that impact business, technology, and innovation, or check out our website at https://innovationedge.com. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and share Insight Innovation with your friends.
Until then, keep innovating and remember to get started today.